All right, so welcome everybody. Today we are starting with the third episode of our series, Digital with JA. I am so excited about this opportunity. When we were brainstorming during the crisis, we were thinking, what can we do to apply our entrepreneurial thinking and act optimistically in this moment? And we decided to launch a series of webinars, which we will use as a platform to connect all of our stakeholders. And we thought the uniting theme topic would be that for us as entrepreneurial people who are moving toward being happy people and transmitting that energy all around the world, we thought that this crisis, in fact, is a real opportunity. And it's not just an opportunity to maybe start new initiatives, to be entrepreneurs in the true sense of the word, in developing innovative solutions to the crisis or to the challenges that we have at the moment. But it's also an opportunity to reset the values, because they're a very important part of our DNA and what we as organization and also people and network we represent. We thought it was an opportunity to also close that big distance and be more human while being physically away, to become closer at heart and in spirit and in mind. We thought it was a good opportunity to think out of the box and to support all of these crazy experimental ideas, because now there isn't a better time than this one, where we cannot be proven wrong because we just don't know what will be the next step. And in doing so, we thought that one of the most maybe one of the best ways to do this is to show you what we are good at and to unite the spirit of our young achievers and of our mentors and of our business community partners. So we decided to call and name this episode 3, from ABC to PhD and beyond. And why? Because we will show you how JA as an organization, as a community, as a network will be working together in action, and we will be providing some insights, some concrete examples and solutions from the different members of our community. I am thrilled to present to you that as a partner we have a great organization, business organization and company. It is City, and we have with us the country chair for City in Bulgaria, Stanislava Taneva, today. We also have the incredible opportunity to build this virtual and real bridge with our colleagues and entrepreneurs, junior and senior entrepreneurs from the US, from Boston. And what a better way, you know, through entrepreneurial mindset to actually build these bridges and start collaboration on new joint ventures internationally. So we have with us Ludovico Rollo, who is a junior in Boston Latin High School, and he is for third year in the JA program. We have Bill Schuble, and Bill has an incredible experience, both as an entrepreneur, innovator, as a manager, and a creator of a number of, I think, 30 different companies and startups and ventures in the last 38 years, and over 60 years of entrepreneurial experience and being related to JA. So I think it's really amazing to have him also with us. Then we also have Val Brooks, and Val is the program manager for the company program at JA of Northern New England. Someone that I absolutely fell in love with when we met, in sharing our enthusiasm about what we can do to support the entrepreneurs and the young people through the opportunities that JA provides. On the Bulgarian side, we have also two young entrepreneurs. We have Polina Bodurova, who is, again, she is also a junior in high school, and it's her second year of a J company program experience. And then we also have Blagoi Atanasov, who is the CEO of the startup Bvine, and it's a J company, it's a J startup who were the winners last year in the company, in the startup program in J Bulgaria, and also winners of the Digital Innovation Award in the European finals of the Enterprise Challenge program of JA. So I think what I'm going to do is I would like to just put you in the mind, in the mindset with a quote that I shared this morning with our colleagues and participants in the panel, which I believe resonates very well with, I think, me, but all of us. And it is a quote by Goethe, of all people. But as we know, certain things transcend time and space. And it is as follows: whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And begin it now. So this is why we're all together, happy to join this spirit and I think optimism, we can all put it with all of you. And now what I would like to do is start with the juniors, even though they were calling themselves junior seniors. I will turn to Polina. Polina is 11th grade high school student at the Dr. Peter Beron High School of Mathematics in Varna. And she is a participant in the J Company program for the second year. And what is very interesting about it is that she is for 2 years in a row taking part in the company program. And the problems that they are addressing are problems with air pollution. And just note this, because maybe it will be something of interest later on when I introduce our young entrepreneur from Boston. So last year they focused on outdoors pollution, and this year on indoor air pollution and health. Polina is involved with the marketing and product launch and recognition of the products in their company program. So what I would like to, and something that Polina describes herself with the 3 words that we asked them to introduce themselves in these years are analyze, believe, and smiling. So Polly, what would you say first? Why did you choose these 3 verbs for yourself? And then what would you say are the steps to follow, and how one can shape his or her behavior and what is your recipe for one to stay positive and even thrive in challenging times?
Well, thanks for the question first. This weekend I think a lot about why I choose those three verbs. And I understand something. This was the first three that came in my head when I heard the question. So I believe these were the right three of all the
Yeah.
verbs I know. And the second one is that you cannot achieve something if you don't believe it, if you don't believe in it, actually. And if you don't have the motivation of it, you won't be able to do it physically. And the mental health is really important, actually. And that's why I think smiling would become really good way to keep your mental health really in a good mood. And if you are smiling and you're a leader, you make your workers feel free to give you nice ideas to make work even funnier, not just a work or business, and make it good and fun and something to do in their free time. And that's how you can achieve a lot in a little startup.
What is your experience with the company program? How did this help you now in this period?
At first, it's a lot of stress, but when you understand how to manage people or your time, or understand what you actually want to do, it's a lot more funny and educational than stress or nerves.
Yes, and in the company program that you have had in the last 2 years as a J startup, what exactly is the product or the solution you've been working on this year?
This year we are working on a device that stays at home and cleans the air from fine particles. And then it calculates and measures the level of carbon dioxide particles in the air and temperature, humidity, and send it to your local device, phone, or anything like that. And this year, actually, we're talking about measuring things indoors and um, fixing this product when we remove the particles from the air. Last year, we just measured the particles outdoors, and I think I'm upgrading myself with those projects, and I like it.
Yes. All right. So let's go to Ludo. Ludo, what were the three verbs that you use for yourself in this period as an entrepreneur?
So the three words that I used to describe myself were number one, persevering, number two, engaging, and number three, competing. And the reasoning that I used was for persevering, to be a true entrepreneur, you have to devote yourself entirely to your project and see them through. And you need to feel the will to see them succeed more than anything else. Number two, engaging. You need to be able to sell your idea to others and make them believe in it, make them believe in your product and your vision as much as you do yourself. And number three, I chose competing. And the startup business and the business worlds are extremely fierce. And you need a competitive drive to make sure that your projects succeed in that type of environment.
Well, you know what? The verbs that you're using, actually, they're very relevant to the way also I think you are operating. So this is your third year in the J company program. Would you tell us, I know that you also, you have filed for patents for two of the company programs you've been involved in. Would you tell us a little bit more about the product and why did you choose to work on something like this, maybe last year and this year?
Of course. So currently I'm working on two J company programs, one that we started last year and one that we started this year. And the one that we started last year is actually the one that we're filing 2 patents for. And it's the filter cycle. In premise, it's a filter that you attach to the handlebars of your bicycle, and it has two main parts. On the back is a common HEPA filter, which is just a common filtration system, while on the front, is a carbon activated side. And so the premise is that as you're biking and air is flowing through the filter, the carbon activated system is able to attract and trap volatile organic compounds, also known as VOCs, from the air, and they're harmful pollutants. And so this was done to help the environment, and it's been extremely rewarding because as a 16-year-old, I've been able to go through the patenting process with incredible lawyers, and it's been extremely interesting. And so this is the product that we've been working on since last year. And the new product that we created with the new JA company program is called Keep Up Trivia. And it is a current events board game, but it's different from all board games in that you actually access the questions through our phone on our website. And it asks questions from 4 main categories: politics, sports, pop culture, and STEM subjects. And we faced a lot more difficulty with this product due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's because in early January, we actually ordered 300 units. And that was before the pandemic had taken over the world. But when they arrived from China 3 weeks later, the situation of the world was completely different. And so we had to pivot as a company. And so what we did, we realized that the sales markets, we couldn't sell our product business to business anymore. We couldn't sell it at events, and we couldn't go door to door anymore. And so those channels were lost. And so we realized we could only sell a more limited number of units than we had thought previously. And so we pivoted to a break-even strategy that we're pursuing right now. And we've had to really bolster our social media presence in order to achieve that.
Well, you are actually answering one of my questions. What would you do? What is the best strategy to pivot in these challenging times? So it sounds like you actually acted on the social media, right, campaign? And
Definitely. I think you have to minimize losses. You have to realize where you're at and what you have and do the best with it. And I think the number one tool for pivoting in times of emergency is experience. And that's why I'm so thankful that the JA Company program and school and other institutions are still running, although virtually, because this type of experience is unmatchable. You learn to be resourceful and to expect the unexpected, which is the name of the game for entrepreneurs.
Well, excellent. Thank you, Ludo. I think I will ask now Blagoj, who is the CEO of the Bvine startup, to tell us in his words, what are the 3 verbs for you, Blagoj, and how can you maybe validate or add to what Ludo was saying? How do you pivot in challenging times?
Well, my 3 verbs are believe, take action, and inspire. And I think the combination and even the sequence of those verbs makes them so good. Because first of all, you need to have faith in what you're doing. You need to believe, and this is where you need to step up and start taking actions. Because if you only believe, this is just a dream. It's nothing else. And when you start taking actions, this is where you can inspire your team members, your potential partners, and customers. And when you are able to aim and achieve what you want to, this is where comes the inspired part. Because if you want, it could be considered as something sublime, but this is how you need to show everyone what you have done, and you could be helpful and inspire everyone that want to follow their dreams. And about pivoting in different times, in difficult times, I think when it's challenging and tough, this is where the real entrepreneur could step up. because this is what drives us all. And about that time, personally, I had tons of new ideas. For example, homemade fitness app and innovative way of delivering Bulgarian vegetables. But I think I'm totally agreed with Ludo that experience makes pivoting in correct time.
Yes. How is your app actually relevant, your product relevant nowadays? Do you think you can improve it? Can you say a couple of words about your product?
Yeah, of course. JA program drove our team from a voice band with an idea to prototype, and now we have MVP. And Divine is built for wine growers. My family have a small vineyard, and we have been unable to get informative decisions for appropriate treatment. And now me and my team are working on a software solution that analyzes raw data from hardware sensors placed in their vineyard. And therefore, we help wine growers with smart assistance to take proper actions with constantly following the state of their vineyard. And now during these times, it's a little bit tough for us because it's not the best situation because we cannot go to the vineyards directly, but we still have a lot of work to do even from home. And now with the limited possibilities to go out and do something else, we have a lot more time to work on our solution, and I think it would be good for the future because it would limit the amount of pesticides that are using for spraying the vineyard. And yeah.
Well, I think all of these solutions, as you can see, dear participants in our webinar, and soon after hearing all of our panelists, you will have the opportunity to ask directly questions and exchange some views and ideas together. But I started saying that all of these solutions of our young entrepreneurs are related to involving some kind of a technology or coming up with a new technological, let's say, solution to existing real life problems and even related to everyday life, which we are finding nowadays to be very appropriate as a type of response in a very changing and dynamic, challenging environment. So I would like to then give the floor to Val. And Val comes with an experience of only 2 years with JA. But in fact, she has a lot of experience in supporting young people in education. She has a background both in education and finance. And something that really struck me when I was reading the short bio that she sent is that she is working on a brand new makerspace in the Seaport area of Boston to provide students with the opportunity to manufacture their products through the use of equipment such as 3D printers, sewing machines, laser, and vinyl cutters. And she's been, as I said, only 2 years in the company program as a company program manager for JA in Northern New England. What were the 3 verbs that you chose for yourself, Val? And then I'll ask you the other question, which is even more challenging, I think.
Sure. The 3 verbs or phrases that I chose to describe myself were proactively connect, seek opportunity, and eager to find solutions. So, Milena, as you know, when the COVID-19 crisis first hit and everyone was ordered to shelter in place and schools closed, the first thing that I did was reach out to you, reach out to a colleague in Cordoba, reach out to my colleagues and counterparts in other areas of the country, St. Louis, Washington, D.C., and find out what people were doing, figure out how to brainstorm, how we could pool our resources and ideas in order to provide students with the motivation and all of the resources that they would need to continue their companies in a really challenging environment. So I'm a huge fan of collaboration in every aspect. So that to me is definitely sort of the primary verb that I would choose to describe myself. The second one is seek opportunity. So really in that entrepreneurial mindset, it is all about where is the opportunity? Where are the gaps that you can fill? How can you solve a problem to fill someone else's need? And so really looking for those opportunities in a new world and a new environment where everything is online, that was something that was really important to me. And then eager to finding solutions. It's not just discovering something new that might be of interest to people. It's kind of finding out what people need, not necessarily what I think is going to be helpful, but what does the stakeholder want? What is going to be helpful for them to help them move themselves forward, their community forward, their company, their product. So looking for opportunity and finding solutions is the last one that I would say for me.
So the time then, because of this crisis, to shift from enterprise without borders, individual enterprises without borders, to entrepreneurship without borders, and to setting a new background and a new ground, in fact, for doing things differently. How can we be even more connected?
So
also,
I believe that enterprise and entrepreneurship really go hand in hand. And I don't think the focus of corporations and organizations has been on entrepreneurship, but in this day and age, things have changed and companies are no longer looking for employees that do the same routine tasks day in and day out. They are looking for people to come in with an innovative approach and, try to rework processes that they have within their organization to find new innovative solutions and products and for their company to move them forward. Basically these people who are looking for opportunities, they need to have that entrepreneurial mindset that, I feel we are lacking in our school system sort of internationally. And that entrepreneurial mindset creates new products and solutions which generate, new jobs and careers and new corporations, and it creates economic growth. But we can't have that economic growth if we don't teach our students how to adopt this entrepreneurial mindset. So programs like the JA Company program give students this hands-on experiential learning opportunity where they can develop these skills so that they can, think like innovators and solve these problems that corporations are looking for. So I do feel it is, not just society, but these corporations really need to get behind the entrepreneurial education in financial support and volunteerism, because these students are going to be their next generation of employees.
Yes, so we are talking about the entrepreneurial mindset basically being the enabler for any kind of change that is happening right now. And the entrepreneurship is something that is becoming more and more a way of behavior and embraced by the bigger organizations and the established corporations. Mm-hmm. I think this, thank you, Val, this naturally leads me to Stanislava Taneva, who is the country managing director of City in Bulgaria. And I just wanted to say about her and City that they have been this resilient, incredible partner in years. And we are building together pathways to progress. And they have been supportive of the entrepreneurship programs and entrepreneurial learning and startup mindset that we are all working toward in both in Bulgaria, but I think all over the world. And Tanya personally has led most of the landmark transactions in the Bulgarian franchise and has been instrumental in positioning Citi as one of the market leaders in Bulgaria. Prior to joining Citi, she was working for the National Bank in Bulgaria. And she has been one of the people who's been working with me for years in providing training for teachers, trainers, in serving as jury and as member in a number of startup competitions. So she is a very big believer in the entrepreneurship and in what we do also as an organization and in JA. But Tanya, now I would like to ask you a question related to your professional expertise. How will this upcoming economic crisis shape businesses from now on? What is your take on this? Do you think something will change or will stay the same? I know we cannot give too many broad how to say projections, clear projections on things, but what's your read?
Thanks, Milena. Hi, everyone. Well, I read an article in Daily Telegraph. Actually, it was written by the former UK Foreign Secretary, David Hogg, who is an advisor to Citi, and I very much liked how he described the COVID-19. And it's an interesting article. I recommend everyone to read it, but he describes it as the great accelerator, or I would say also a great disruptor, a word that we have been using quite a bit over the past couple of years. But what we can say is that the global tensions, the economic policies, the political ideas, the new technologies are now fast forwarding of what is to come, right? In its effect on societies, on the politics, on the economy, on the distribution of power, COVID-19 is indeed the great accelerator. So all of us are seeing what's happening right now. And there are a number of estimates of whether, I mean, we have started from a V to the U, going now to the L in terms of the impact of the COVID-19 on the economies. Inevitably, the world is accumulating a huge level of debt. There'll be an increasing unemployment. There are sectors and companies going out of business. There are countries that will have to rethink how they're going to operate and work and what the economies will be. Of course, there are some concerns around how data is going to be used now and tomorrow. But at the end of the day, that is the massive incentive of the crisis to provide for innovation, right? So I mean, we are obviously talking to clients, and we have been thinking, and we have been always supporting our clients and focusing on different industries and their needs. And ultimately, there are clear winners, not winners, let's say less impacted industries where we should focus and where everybody should focus and start rethinking what's going to be the new abnormal normal, right? So obviously we do see, with all this tension between the US and China, we do see that China is too far to swim now. So most of the of the Western capitals and company headquarters will conclude that they cannot be dependent any longer on supplies from one country. I mean, in a world where the borders are being closed at the first hint of trouble. And so the process of deglobalization, meaning that most of what we consume needs to be closer to us, even if it has to be more expensive, I think is going to accelerate. So there'll be massive restructuring. There'll be, as production and sourcing has to move closer to the end user. which actually relates to some of the comments I think Ludo made in terms of supply chain management. So if today we have a shortage in supply because of the COVID-19, tomorrow the expectations are that there'll be, demand will not be the same and it will be different. So we need to start rethinking how we manage the supply chain so we make it resilient and we make it sustainable. The other thing is obviously the rethinking of the approach to workspace. Even the financial industry, which we all thought cannot work remotely, it seems it can, right? And I'm talking about banks in particular, which are seen as more like
more conservative.
Yeah, more conservative. So working from home becomes the new normal, which will have to change the entire landscape and its impact eventually on behavior, on the way we, our employees and our partners work in terms of real estate industries, etc. Accelerating digital transformation, clearly, all areas of life and business and education. I can put some clear sort of, winners in a way, some of the pharma business, some of the medical education, the 3D printing. What we find now is broadband and reliable connectivity is an extremely important thing in this environment. Food production, supply chain, especially when working from home. Cloud computing segment, video conferencing and collaboration, electronic payments, more and more of it. E-commerce, for example, if we recall the restrictions put in place during the SARS outbreak back in 2003 actually helped accelerate China's embrace of e-commerce, right? So we think that COVID-19 will actually put forward a bit of a more accelerated path on that front. And for example, when I'm talking about less dependence on China, where actually the big innovation is, we are currently talking through Zoom. Zoom is a perfect example of a startup that is, okay, it's a challenging thing to be too far away from China and of the innovation, but it works. Obviously, streaming, gaming, gambling, all of these industries, we don't necessarily the gambling part touch, but all of these entertainment industry will be, or at least now, are sort of booming. And supply and logistics, and I would say these are amongst some of the things you can start thinking immediately, obviously. And what is important is that most mature organizations will become startups sooner or later, simply because post the COVID, and we don't know when that post the COVID will be, obviously, the most important thing is how you simplify your work, how you streamline your process, how you do optimize your costs, how you go for your people and businesses. And what I wanted to just add probably before I finish is young people are most likely to be disproportionately impacted by the economic impact of COVID-19, which was also the case with the 2008 financial crisis, and today we have a totally different story. So the strong collaboration between companies and between organizations supporting young people into work could go some way to reduce the risk of that. And I think that JA company program is actually the best position to do so and to develop all of these skills and to motivate young people to start thinking out of the box, having this situation today. So I'll stop right here, I guess. I'm sure you don't want me to get into some macro estimates. We can do that, but I guess not the topic of this discussion.
Yes, there might be some questions after that. I'm sure that people will be very interested to hear your also financial, maybe ideas on the financial outlook. But thank you so much.
They're not very great, so let's keep them away. Yeah.
Yes, what is what I really liked in your comment also was that most mature organizations will become startups, or they'll have to act entrepreneurially and will have to behave in such a way, which is really a great example of what we as an organization, but also what our young entrepreneurs can do, because they can even help some of these big organizations to behave in such a manner. And I think I would like to now close the panel first intervention with someone who on his own is somebody with incredible experience, with a track record. He's an institution on his own, and this is Bill Chappell, who is the CEO of Schuble companies and a member of the J Northern New England Board of Directors and trustee at J Worldwide. And for Bill, what can I tell you? I think when I was reading his short bio, even though you cannot have a short bio for Bill, because he is amazing in so many different ways. He has been with the Gillette company, and he actually established the Chappell Corporation, business which was formed in 1981 through acquisition of two divisions of the Gillette company. And then Bill sold the Chappell Corporation in 2014, along with its successful Thermacell mosquito repellent business, and retained Thermacell heated products under Chappell Technologies. And prior to founding Chappell Corporations, and I said even earlier that he has later on started more than 30 other companies, he was also a main member of the Gillette company, including president of the Gillette Japan and president of Brown North America. But during all of his professional life and as an entrepreneur, as a manager, he has continued his involvement with JA, and that's why I said he is really himself an institution. I am so thrilled to have him with us on this panel. And what can there be a better way to prove the incredible network that we have and the opportunity to be able to actually now ask Bill some questions related to the current situation that we have. Bill, could I ask you to share with us your 3 verbs that you have for yourself as an entrepreneur in the current environment situation? Bill? Oh, maybe.
I'm wondering if he's on mute.
Yes, Bill, I think if you would like to say something, you need to unmute your mic.
Maybe he got disconnected because I can't see him right now. He was there a minute ago, but maybe the connection dropped. Ah, yeah, I can see him.
Wait.
Yes.
Hold on. Can you tell me when you can hear me?
We hear you perfectly.
Okay, I may just have to stay with but let me just try one thing in terms of, well, if you can hear me and I can hear you, you just can't see me. You're well off because I'm not that good looking.
No, you're wonderful. Thank you. Would you share your secrets with us?
I fortunately could see all of you, and you are all beautiful and brilliant. And I think I can relate to everything that was said today as the value of not only junior achievement, but forward thinking, optimism, and developing proprietary products and ideas, and understanding the world changes now. It used to be every 20 years. Now it's, then we did a study at Wharton School and said every 5 years things will change, and now I think it's changing every year. And you look at the disruption of, for example, countries. When I started working in Asia, both China and Japan were very weak. They had lots of people, they had lots of poverty, but through innovation in both countries, China had more advantages because they had resources. Japan did not have resources, but they had ideas and people to bring forward the ideas. So that brought those two countries from the bottom of the economic success to the top. In the United States, we've been fortunate having new ideas that come from all over the world because it was a country of immigrants who built businesses and education that was of value, including junior achievement. I began in junior achievement in 1956, before the whole group of you were born. But and I was involved in junior achievement for a couple of years, and stayed involved through the years, actually running junior achievement companies for the Gillette Company, and being involved both on boards and advisory boards and now international boards with junior achievement. But the words that you're looking for in entrepreneurship, I think, is to start, you have to be innovative and optimistic. No matter how good your idea is, somebody else may have it, so you have to be understanding of your competition. If you start out with one idea that isn't quite there, move to another one. So be innovative and persistent. Also, you should be looking at making a difference in whatever you do, whether it's in business or education or in healthcare. It's got to make a difference, and you need technology, you need science, you need forward-looking, and the world is changing very fast. I look at where the world is going, and I agree with Tanya, and disruption and change is very fast. I look at both education because of what we're going through with the virus, but also healthcare. You no longer have to go through years of education in a small space and not reach all of the people. You now, with technology, can reach directly. Same thing happened in the commodity retail business, and people like Amazon talk directly to consumers. Retailers and wholesalers become weak. So you really have to adapt to change. Innovation is critical. As Ludo mentioned, getting a patent which says you have a product that no one else has, you have a value, and then working that and marketing that, looking at it also internationally. It is no longer a great idea that only works in one country. It's got to work beyond that. I was fortunate at the Gillette Company. I came in young. I always had an entrepreneurial job. And by that, I mean, with Gillette's money, I was able to help build businesses and acquire companies and go international and grow. Even though I stayed at the Gillette Company for 19 years, it was entrepreneurial, but it allowed me to take over 2 of their companies. And I've been an entrepreneur officially for almost 40 years. So there's a picture for all of us, but it does start with being able to be innovative, persistent, have your ups and downs, but never give up, and don't be stressed because you'll find another idea as long as you have that attitude. And that's critical. The second or the third piece is to work with a team that has high quality and you allow them to be innovative too. Manage it, give direction, but make sure that you're doing things of value. That it's just not a workaday, boring situation for them, that they're as enthused as you are. So I guess, I don't know whether that gave you enough, but
yes, and thank you, because I really share with you that sense of optimism, and I like the fact that you were saying you have to be brilliant and you should never give up. So you've been an entrepreneur, then an entrepreneur, but most of all, you were carrying the mindset that helped you stay innovative. I have one question with regards to the work that we are doing in education, because our organization is achieving this impact mainly through education. Do you foresee for the business sector to connect or to interact with the sphere of education in the next months or years in a stronger way? Or somehow that we can really make the case, the opportunity for education to take, forefront in our society, foreground?
absolutely. And I'm sorry to say that this virus, which is tragic, gives us more opportunities than we've ever had before. We have 188 countries that have to redo where they are. I can now see, I don't know whether you, but I'm back to seeing all these beautiful people. But what I'm saying is, and I mention it when I talk about education, right now, the education can reach more people more deeply as long as there is direct contact and using technology, which becomes cheaper and cheaper as time goes on. The same thing is true in healthcare, where there are a lot of brilliant doctors who stay in one location. They're with tele healthcare, they can outreach even for doing operations, whatever the problem is in any part of the world, they can have an outreach, and it's a lot less costly. That will be part of the change. A lot of people in every country can, with their ideas, bring that country up as China did, as Japan did, and move a lot further. I think it also requires international thinking. And when you develop products, they should be things that will help not only wherever you are, but wherever there are opportunities elsewhere. But I think that this disruptive world is a creative world, and that's where there's innovation.
And there is even a better opportunity now that education and business should work together, because yes, no business initiative in a way can be achieved without being educated and well versed in your area of work or interest, right?
And you can't stand still. You see the major corporations who were started 100 years ago who fall apart. They be complacent. They need to be innovative and look more broadly.
Yes. Thank you, Bill. Now what I would like to do is to open the floor for questions. I see here that there are already some questions. As some house rules, please put them in the chat and we will try to answer some of them in as much as we can, trying to keep, of course, the time for this webinar. If we cannot answer the questions, all of them, we will try to provide them later on. So there is already one question here related to Ludovico, to Ludo. So one of the students is asking how have you started producing both of the products and make all of this for real? Because this may be the hardest part of the little businesses at the moment, to start producing their products.
I completely agree. And as Mr. Chappell mentioned, it's extremely important that you have a good team. And so the assembly of our products is in large parts due to our supply chain. And so the fill-tear cycle, for example, it's a pretty innovative product because it's really only made of two parts. If you see closely, here inside obviously is the filter, but you can easily take that out, right? And I'll take it out right now. And once you take it out, here, we bought this on Amazon online, and its primary use is actually a cup holder on a bicycle. And so what you do is you attach it to the handlebars of your bicycle, and then you put your cup in here, just like this, and you go to work. And so by being innovative, by finding this product and then creating this filter, we were able to make this filter by actually shipping it and customizing it from China through the website Alibaba and making it the same dimensions as the cup holder here. We were able to create this product. And so, yeah, just being innovative. And for the Keep Up Trivia board game, same thing. The boxing, we actually were able to ship that from Boston, or locally at least in the United States. But the actual product itself, we found it most useful to ship from China. And so for this product, especially the board game part, which has two sides, it's just, all you have to do is open it. All we had to do for this was through Alibaba or through Chinese sources, find a specific source that was already creating a product similar to ours, a board game with our same dimensions. And in that way, we were able to lower costs since they were already creating boards our size and all they had to do was print on top of them. So I think to answer your question in short, China's been a great resource. Alibaba has been too online, and always trying to find the best deals or the best quote unquote shortcuts, but make sure that these shortcuts do not minimize the usefulness of your product or damage it in any way.
May I add a comment?
Yes, please, Bill. Yes, go ahead.
With Fill-Tear, they have built a business that can really go into other products, but most importantly, they can sell refills. Coming out of the blade and razor business, a lot of your profit is long-term because people, if they're satisfied with your product, come back for whatever else you have. And his filter is a refill product. So you think more broadly, your starting point.
Yes. It's interesting when we were, I thought it was a serendipitous moment when we were asking who would like to join. Ludo from Boston had this idea with related to air pollution. And then our team and Polly from Varna, from the math school, was also working on a project related to air pollution. Very interesting. Do you see a way for you two to work together?
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, this definitely relates to Rad's question, which he just sent to the chat. JA not only is so helpful for what you learn, the experience, but connections that you make because at least here in Boston, you do the program with other people all across Boston, even if you didn't know them. And so you get to meet people with maybe different goals, different talents, and JA is extremely helpful in that. And in addition, I just want to add a quick story about the Fill-Tear. Last year, we were trying to figure out how to most effectively sell our Fill-Tear, and we decided that B2B would be huge. And so in Boston, there's a bike chain service, and it's owned by Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so I after some internet digging, I was able to find the email of the CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of New England, and specifically of Massachusetts. And so I sent him an email. I told him I was part of this JA program, and I thought that it would be helpful for both his company and my company if we created a partnership and added our filters to his bicycles. And little did I know that he was a JA alumni. And so being a JA alumni and seeing my email and seeing that I too participate in JA, that created a connection immediately. And even though a deal did not happen in the end, it was the experience that I got. And how quickly we formed a connection just goes to prove how helpful JA is in creating a global network.
Yeah, very interesting. Polly, do you see an opportunity where with your product you could be joining forces with them?
Well, I definitely see an opportunity, and I'm actually impressed that you have talked to Chinese probably sellers that made your products. But I want to mention another option is 3D printing. Right now, just because we are 21st century, we have amazing printers. And actually, I think my half product this year is 3D print. And it works, and it's amazing. So you can try it as well.
Definitely.
Maybe you can do a joint venture in producing the 3D printed parts instead of going. There is a question, actually two questions for Stanislava. For Stanislava, during the economic downturn, how will the ability or inability to secure financing negatively impact entrepreneurship? Do you think there would be such an impact?
Of course, it will be an impact. I mean, one of the most important things under the current situation as a leader is don't sugarcoat the situation. So obviously, the small and medium business will be most impacted. I think there was a research by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, if I'm not mistaken, that probably around 54% of the small and medium-sized business with less than 500 employees is going to be impacted very severely. Some of it will sort of disappear. But on a more optimistic note, for good ideas and for innovative solution, there is always access to capital and financing. Obviously, under the current situation, talking about globally, there'll be all governments have, extended a number of funds, and there are certain schemes for support. We see it in our country, we see it EU funds, we see it from everywhere else. On the other hand, private equity, it's more on the larger side, but there are large investors who are sitting on a lot of cash that will be put into business once they know the direction. So clearly, depending on the size of the financing that is needed, but definitely access to financing is critical for some of the ideas. But as we talked, partnerships will be some of the ways out. I mean, you can consolidate, you can go into a pool, you can partner with a big organization, etc. But the point is very relevant. I mean, honestly, talking about banks now, and with all the moratoriums that are in the country, and you would argue that we have not seen yet the impact of the crisis. That will be seen probably next year, because at this stage you have non-payment, but the question when it will turn into default with all the unemployment and all the loss of jobs. The good thing is that over the last few years, there are alternative sources of financing. So banks, as we say, banking was important, or banking is important, banks are not. So you have alternative sources of financing. You have disruptors that are actually engaging, and there'll be a lot of focus, as we all said, on innovation, etc. So there are ways of finding financing as long as you have a good idea to sell.
Yeah. So there will be always support for the innovative ideas. This is what you are saying.
Not for all, but obviously, we need to, as Bill said previously, we need to be optimistic, because there'll be always somebody else coming with your idea, because some of the greatest ideas, let's not kid ourselves, have been a copy paste, but very well managed and very well thought. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Stanislava. I also like your comment about the partnership. We have been thinking in our organization that really now is the era of the new types of partnerships. And there will be partnerships between the business and education, partnerships between different sectors of industries, partnerships between startups and established organizations, and even educational institutions. So there is actually an opportunity now to set the new types of partnerships to be running for the next years to come. There is one question to Bill that I would like to specifically ask is, which do you think, Bill, are the best career areas to focus on in the next few years for graduates or people who are considering shifting their professional direction, education?
Well, I know in certain areas like Massachusetts, there are 100,000 jobs available in science and biotech, where in some of the other fields that are basic commodities, it's of less interest. But in innovative areas, there, as Tanya just mentioned, there is a lot of money available to support new ideas and create new businesses. But the international aspect of it is very critical, because the market is beyond your city, your state, your country, but it is worldwide. And that's where you should always have an eye.
Yes, thank you. I would like to ask one question to Blago, and I know it's a tough one, but what do you think the future holds for you as a startup and as an entrepreneur, Blago? Just shoot from the way you feel.
Yeah, I think our startup Bivine relates to something that could be considered as a hot topic because it is for grapes that can be considered as wine, but also as food. So yeah, it's about viticulture, but also for smart agriculture. So I think it's a bright future, and is a very good sector to focus on and deploy our knowledge as software engineers, and with using the knowledge of our agronomists. I think that would be a good step for us. And well, I'm very, very optimistic about that. So yeah.
And as Stanislava was saying earlier, there will be a blossoming of the local businesses, and this way you can empower through technology that they have better yields, and maybe we can have better biological products and better wines. Hopefully this will boost them. One last question that I have for Val. And she doesn't know, but of course she knows that I will always come up with something. Maybe it's challenging. How do we pivot as an organization, Val, in those challenging times? Is it time for us to pivot as well and to do something differently?
Yes, absolutely. And I think we are taking that first step right now. As the 7th top NGO in the world, JA is this international organization that I personally feel our region needs to do a better job of reaching out to our counterparts and connecting our students around the globe. So, doing this webinar with you, I'm so happy that Ludo and Polly have gotten a chance to connect with one another. I've been trying to do that with my counterparts in JA USA, reaching out to different areas and having them connect. But yeah, I think it is a group effort, and I do feel like now there are no more excuses about being too busy because everyone's connecting in person where everything's being done virtually. We really need to take advantage of this opportunity and maximize on it in terms of connectivity within one another.
Thank you. Thank you. And I really would like, I think I don't see any other questions at the moment, unless I'm not seeing, but I wanted to thank everyone. I think this has been so great. It's been personally one of my dreams to do something like this in a very fast-forward manner. And I appreciate all of your participation, all of your positivism, and let's finish with another quote: knowing it's not enough, we must do, we must act. So thank you for being such innovators and doers and participating in this, all of you, I think the participants. And I am just throwing the glove, as in old times, to our partners that we actually have to do at least 10 episodes of this. So let's look forward to the next episode 4 of Crisis as an Opportunity and Being Digital with Jay. Thank you all.
I think
wonderful.
one more question.
Yes.
Victor in the chat.
Now I see. Yeah.
So currently we are in the process of patenting the filter because, as Mr. Schuble mentioned before, it's so critical. And patents do certainly cost quite a bit of money. And actually doing some research the past couple of weeks, I've encountered what is called a provisional patent. And they're extremely interesting because they only cost $65. They can be written by anyone, so the inventor can write it, and the language does not have to be technical, but it still activates the patent pending, I guess, language. So it does protect your product in some sort of way. It's a timestamp that you created it first. And if a patent is too expensive at first, or you're trying to see if with a provisional patent you can try and sell the rights to a company and try to get a royalty fee, it's always, I think, an option, a great option to go for a provisional patent as well. But yeah, protecting, I think you have to protect your product because someone else is going to have the same idea, I think. And so, yeah, make sure you mark down that you had it first.
Thank you, Ludo. It really is the best example. You couldn't have done it better to prove how entrepreneurial you are at heart, because you just cannot give up on explaining. Yeah. If there is time. Thank you so much all. I actually, before closing, I wanted to especially thank our team because it has been amazing. We are doing everything as a team. So I would like to thank my colleagues Jordan, Dani, and Svetoslava, who have been in this together with us in planning, designing, and making this happen. So I really believe in the power of our partnership and network as an organization, but also in the society, also with our external partners and stakeholders. Thank you again, and look forward to the next episode.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice day.